Yo, 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 people and patrons of the night, it is your boy BD, and welcome back to the Horror Tavern, a place where I discuss all things in horror media. So if you enjoy, again, before the video, take a seat, grab a drink, because you're going to need it, and I need it too, so I got it. And make sure that you get ready as we explore the limitless cavern that is the horror genre. And today I'm talking about a classic anthology show similar to Tales from the Crypt, and Twilight Zone. This is a show that was very, very popular. It's known to be iconic. And unfortunately, today I'm going to be talking about its weakest season because I'm going to be making season by season episode ranking videos that will be my official ones now. That show is going to be Tales from the Darkside, a show that aired back in 1983. Took place in the 1980s. So this show is like 30 years old. I made a ranking before on the first season, but it came out to an hour and 20 minutes long, way too long of a video for people to watch. And it was back in the day before I actually experienced as much horror media as I have now. I've seen so many movies, I've seen a lot of TV shows, I've read so many books and short stories. I'm much more of a veteran at this point, and I more so know what I like and what I don't like. So that one back in the day was a little bit cringy to me. I haven't rewatched it since, but I want to make a shorter one, the official episode ranking for season 1, Tales from the Darkside. And first and foremost, this season was pretty fucking bad. There is a lot of atrocious episodes in here. There's some bad episodes. There's a lot of mid to meh episodes. A lot of this first season is very, very forgettable, and only 5 of the episodes I consider flat out good, and then only 2 of them I consider very good or great. And sorry for my cough. I have coughing sprees for these past few weeks. It's going to be a longer video, and I'm talking about a lot of dookie, so it's going to pop up a little bit during this ranking. But without further ado, let's not waste time. Let's get into Tales from the Darkside Season 1 ranking. The bottom of this season goes to number 24 is If the Shoe Fits. If the Shoe Fits is a political commentary episode done in one of the weirdest ways possible. It's about this American politician who's very much that sort of Uncle Sam. You know, he talks about people eating hot dogs and popcorn and barbecuing, and 4th of July fireworks is very much like a, I guess, cartoon mascot figure of a politician. And he's going to this hotel before his election or something takes place, and he meets the employees, a bellboy and a housekeeper, and some weird stuff starts happening. They start disappearing while he's sort of enjoying his time there and explaining to them the world of politics. And then he gets his suit dry cleaned and it comes back comically large like a clown costume, and more stuff starts happening, and the employees are way too nice, but there's something off about them. That's the plot. This episode is fucking stupid. It did not need to exist. It is one of the most basic, bare-bone, goofy commentary episodes of political commentary. It's just like the main character is like this propaganda figure. He's like, you know that picture you've seen with that woman putting up her bicep and she's got the bandana? He's like that type of old school Uncle Sam kind of guy. And there's no explanation as to what the hotel employees are. You don't know if they're ghosts. You don't know what exactly they're supposed to be. And the whole episode is just him slowly becoming a clown, a mascot figure. Yeah, it was fucking stupid. There's no reason why this political, goofy episode needs to be in here. Nothing is explained. This should have never even existed. And if I see the person who wrote this, you're getting the shit slapped out of you. That's it. Next one is number 23, Grandma's Last Wish. Holy fuck, this is the most obnoxious and annoying ass episode ever. Just to know, if you end up liking this episode, me and my homies are going to pull up in Ronald McDonald costumes and slap you upside the head with the lukewarm quarter pounders. And we're also going to hit you with some McFlurries filled up with shaving cream. And I hope that shaving cream grows up your mouth and nose. You start choking on that bitch. I hope it closes out your eyes because you don't deserve to look at shit if you enjoy this episode. And I hope the buns block out your eardrums just because this episode is fucking annoying as hell. And I would put it at the bottom, except If the Shoe Fits has a dumber plot. This one at least has something in it, whatever. Grandma's Last Wish is about this old woman, this grandma in the house. She's filled with this annoying ass family. The girl is always screaming. She's like the daughter. She's always screaming and going, "Ma, give me the phone." And if she doesn't get the phone, she starts screaming and going, "Ah!" And then the mom is always complaining and bitching. And then the dad is like, that's his mom is the grandma. And when he tries to eat donuts, she'll slap it out of his hands and she'll go, eat your Raisin Bran. And he's like, come on, Ma. It's fucking annoying and stupid. All the characters in here are obnoxious, cartoony caricatures. And the plot just ends up that they want to put her away in a retirement home. She very much opposes that. And then she decides to make a wish on her birthday that potentially may or may not make them learn the feeling about being old. So she gets some comeuppance and revenge. This episode's fucking obnoxious. All the actors and actresses in here are obnoxious. The plot is stupid. It's one of the most unbearable episodes ever. If I could take this pen and shove it through my eardrum one side or the other, that's what I almost did while watching this. And the only reason I put it above the bottom episode is because of the fact that the ending is a little dark. It's got a little twist to it. And yeah, that's Grandma's Last Wish. Number 22 is Jin No Chaser. Holy fuck. This is one of the goofiest episodes in an anthology show I've ever seen. Forget Jin No Chaser. You get the pun, right? It's Jin, like the evil genie Jin, and then gin, like the alcohol. You need cyanide No Chaser to get through this stupid ass fucking episode. Episode opens up with this guy who's in this like lunatic, like he's in this like mental room, and he's like, hey doctor, hey, I went through this phase where I got to this market, right? Man, my wife didn't really like it, did she? Now I love my wife. I love this. That's how he fucking talks. He talks like some fucking Looney Tunes ass character, and he explains one day that him and his wife, getting home from work or whatever, they saw this random marketplace pop up out of nowhere, and they went in there and they bargained and bought a genie bottle, little lamp thing, and they took it home, and then the genie starts getting revenge on them. The genie's very angry and starts making their life miserable, and then the ending is they find a way to get the genie out. It's fucking stupid. One of the stupidest episodes ever. The actor, the main character, is an annoying piece of shit. He's so fucking goofy. I can't stand hearing him talk because he's always going, right, well, hey, doc, hey, did you know that my wife is really into me right now? I'm very quite the lucky guy. Now, obviously, now I'm not that crazy, but I'm a little crazy, but not that crazy. You don't think I'm crazy, doc? Do you? Okay. That's how he fucking talks. That's how I felt. Then you got the whole plot. The plot is just like stupid shit. Like, you don't see it obviously, but like vines will start growing in their apartment. There's elephants outside in the hallway. This genie's just pissed. And I think the genie's played by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the basketball player. He can't fucking act for his life. He just goes, I am the genie. I am angry. You little worm. Ah, ha, 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 ha. Salvation Army got some real competition going on in terms of actors. I think I could have pulled a crackhead off of Chicago and had them do a better job acting. In fact, there was a crackhead on a train that I was taking that was doing stand-up, and he was infinitely funnier and a better actor than the main character and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in this episode. It's goofy as shit. It fucking sucks. The way they get the genie out of the lamp, they use a kitchen item. It's stupid. Fuck this episode. It gets a 2 out of 10. So yeah, all 3 of the episodes so far have gotten 2 out of 10s. Some of the worst things I ever watched. Number 21 is All Comes Out in the Wash. This one gets a 3 out of 10. It's still a bad, stupid, unexplained episode. But it's about this businessman who seems to be corrupt. He's sort of that corrupt business guy. He potentially may or may not have involved killing some people, fucking over some people. And he decides to go to this laundry wash place owned by this older Chinese man who says that, all the sins of a person can be, gotten rid of when they wash out their clothes in a specific way that the Chinese man does that he never explains. So it's like a unique laundry wash that can get rid of your sins, and you're able to sleep like a baby and not worry about anything. So this businessman wants to do it. He pays an extra premium to get this special wash, and then the rest of the episode is just him waiting on the clothes to come back, trying to get into contact with the Chinese guy, and then he gets a phone call, and there's this reveal, this stupid-ass reveal that's basically an all-for-nothing plot line where the entire episode is, hey, there's this laundry wash, hey, I'm waiting for my clothes, and then potentially the owner of the place calls him, does this big revelation, and basically it's a giant fuck you to the main character, and it's a giant fuck you to the viewer, because it's basically everything went to nothing. All that buildup, nowhere, gone, out the window. And speaking of gone out the window, that ending was dark, It's pretty twisted. That's how I felt after watching the bottom 5 episodes of the season of Tales from the Dark Side. But yeah, the rest of the episode is fucking boring. It's plotless. And what is the little plot there ends up being completely retconned, and it just leads you to a boring waste of time. 3 out of 10. Number 20 on my list is The Tear Collector. This is hands down the most boring episode in this entire fucking season. The Tear Collector is about this woman who's always crying, and her friends are always criticizing her for crying all the time. But she loves crying. She loves being depressed. She loves being sad. It makes her feel better. And then one day she encounters this handsome guy, and she's been having some trouble finding men. So when she finds this handsome guy, he seems very peculiar. He's well-dressed, good-looking dude. But he tells her that he loves her tears, and he seems to get some sort of a weird attraction towards her crying, and he invites her over to his office place where I guess he does like therapy sessions, and he lets this woman talk to him, vent out her issues, and cry as much as she wants to. And he's odd because he has this little glass bottle that's shaped like a swan, and he puts it under her eyes and lets the teardrops go into the little duct, and he fills up this bottle with her tears. He keeps doing these therapy sessions. He loves collecting her tears. He says that he's read up on tears, and tears are very powerful. You know, they have the power to, you know, be more youthful, to make you happier, to affect your emotions, all this different stuff. And then the climax of the episode is she does something, and then it ends off with a fucking kumbaya ending. This episode is so fucking boring because the plot is the most stupid shit I've ever heard in my life. It's so fucking random. There's no explanation as to why this guy likes collecting tears. It's hinted, but then it goes nowhere. The way she reacts to this guy is like, she like, I don't know, she like, there's this weird like perv thing, like they do this like weird like, oh, this therapy guy is like a pervert for collecting tears. But bitch, you are letting him collect your tears. You're going there every day. You want to get with him, and then when he continuously tells the girl that he doesn't want to be in a relationship and he thinks it's better off. He continuously tells her, and she doesn't fucking take no for an answer. She doesn't fucking get a hint. If a hint was a fucking semi-truck and it hit her in the face, she still wouldn't know how she went out when she died. This woman cannot take a hint, and she's so fucking obsessed with this guy, and she lets him do this tear collecting, and then all of a sudden at the end she's like, oh, you perv, how could you do that to me? Bitch, you were there. You were in the seat. You were in the lounge. You co-signed the shit. I almost damn near thought you were about to sign a 5-year contract to Young Money off the shit. How the fuck are you complaining? And then the kumbaya ending. Oh, I found my man. Oh, I found my guy at the end. What the fuck ever. This episode gets a fucking 4 out of 10. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. No. Is it fucking good? Hell the fuck no. This episode is still bad, but it's just boring. It's one of the most boring things I've ever watched. And that's The Tear Collector. Number 18 is what I used to think was the most boring episode, but upon a rewatch, I do actually like the concept of this one. This is one of the episodes that I like the concept, but the acting fucking is not good, and it's just goofy, stupid, and it's just really fucking boring. This one's number 18, Painkiller. Painkiller is about this, I guess, engineer guy who he lives in a house with his wife. His wife is like a housewife. She doesn't go out and work, but she's always constantly nagging and bitching at him and nagging and bitching at him. Just in, you know, one of those type of housewives, those uptight, you know, entitled bitch housewives. And he's sort of this nice guy. He looks like fucking Mario. He looks like Mario from the Mario video games. Real life Mario. And he's studying to, I guess, like get into like a higher job, like computer programming or something, because she wants him to make more money and be rich like her brother or something is. I don't know. And he ends up one day going to like the kitchen to get some more coffee or something because he needs to stay up and study for an exam. And then he falls over and he hurts his back. His back gives out. And then he swears he saw somebody in the window of this stormy, rainy night while he was laying on the ground because he couldn't get up. He had to sleep on the kitchen floor that night. And when he goes to the doctor the next day, he swears that the doctor looks like the guy he saw in the window of his house. And he freaks out. But the doctor says he can try to find a way to get rid of his pain. And the whole episode is this guy dealing with his pain and dealing with his nagging wife and trying to find a way to solve it. And eventually the doctor does give him away. But it may or may not involve potentially killing somebody that may be actually the source of this main character's pain in his back. And the ending to this reveals that there may be some sort of underground operation going on, and the doctor maybe more than meets the eye. I like the concept to this one. I thought that concept was weird and fun, and it was actually pretty good. But the whole episode, the acting is fucking bad. It's fucking boring as shit. I nearly fell asleep a couple of times trying to watch it. Nothing happens the whole episode. Just that ending part is like the slightly good part. And even then, the doctor is good. The premise is good. But the main character's acting is just sort of goofy, cliche, corny. And that's Painkiller. It gets a 4 out of 10. But I put it at the top because of these bad episodes. Well, almost all of them. Because of the fact that I like the concept. The next one, coincidentally, is another one that I like the concept of, but the execution was bad. And that's number 17, All a Clone in the Telephone. Or All a Clone by the Telephone. I don't know. All a Clone by the Telephone is a story about this writer. He does screenplays. He writes stories for TV shows and movies, I guess. And he's having no luck having his scripts picked up. And then one day, his answering machine on his telephone in the apartment ends up having some weird voicemails left behind for him that don't really make any sense. He doesn't remember having any conversations with people that could lead to these voicemails, and then people in his life that are close to him, like his ex-girlfriend and stuff, start telling him things that they heard him say to them over the phone, and he's like, I never said those things. And then he finds out there may or may not be some parallel universal entity, some parallel clone of him from another timeline or universe that may be inside of this telephone and messing with his life. And then he has to find a way to deal with it. It drives him more and more insane. And then when he gets a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, maybe due to the phone, there has to be some negotiation made. That's All a Clone by the Telephone. All a Clone by the Telephone. I like the concept. I like the idea of a parallel universe version of yourself being inside of the telephone and manipulating your life in these type of ways, leaving voicemails and calls for people that never happened. That's really eerie, and I like that Twilight Zone aspect to it. It very much felt like a Twilight Zone segment. But the execution is just boring. Nothing happens the whole episode. The main character's acting is good, being driven into insanity, but again, nothing really happens. It's just him dealing with different problems, these fabricated issues. And then the ending to this episode is really fucking bad. It makes no fucking sense. It's like the most wet fart ending that it went nowhere. And you're just like, that's it. So that's All a Clone by the Telephone. 4.5 out of 10. Not the worst thing. It's a boring episode, kind of bad, but it's not fully bad. And that ends all the strictly bad ones. Number 16 is Mookie and Pookie. I gave this one a 5.5 out of 10. It's an okay episode. Still find it sort of meh, but it's okay. It's fine. Mookie and Pookie feels like an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode. It's about this family. You have this brother and sister, and you have the mom and dad, and they're playing this like word Scrabble game on like the newspaper or like some board game or something. And the brother, you find out, is very sick, and unfortunately at the end of this game he ends up passing away. But then I forgot if it was Mookie or Pookie. I forgot what the fucking nicknames of these kids are. But the daughter ends up getting this, I guess, thing delivered to her, which is like a computer part, like this thing that she plugs up to the computer and she can do coding with. And she finds out that her brother left behind this will for her that he wanted her to finish this computer program that he never got to finish. So she does it out of her love for him. That's her kind of way to deal with grieving over his loss and death. And then she finds out that this computer programming may or may not have been to upload her brother's consciousness into their desktop computer. And the dad is very anti-computer. You know, this is back in the 1980s, before computers were a big thing. So he's very anti-computer. He doesn't really understand the whole idea of computers. The mom doesn't either, but she's very supportive in contrast to the dad. And then the sister has to find a way to finish this computer programming without her family trying to get rid of her opportunity. And that's Mookie and Pookie. This one had some good heart to it. It had some good emotional feel to it. There's a lot of cheese, a lot of corny stuff, a lot of cliche, and the plot is very simple. But it's not a bad episode by any means. This has a decent enough concept. I like the sort of heart to it, but it's just missing that extra stuff that can make it more interesting. Because again, this episode is not as interesting as it could be. So that's Mookie and Pookie. I give it 5.5 out of 10. An okay meh episode. 15 is Word Processor of the Gods. This is a Stephen King short story adapted into an episode. I've seen this I read the Stephen King short story in Skeleton Crew, his collection first, and then I watched the episode. That episode is very accurate to the short story, pretty much damn near. Word Processor of the Gods is about this, I think, dad who's very disappointed with his son and wife. Like, he's not happy with the wife and son that he has. They're also, his son's a delinquent, sort of like a punk rock kind of guy in his rebellious phase, and his wife is not that smart, sort of just complains a lot. Meanwhile, the dad is pretty smart, and I think he has I forgot if it was like a nephew or somebody that is extremely smart, and before that nephew and bright, brilliant guy died, it created this word processor that he gives to his uncle or whatever. I forgot. It's like a word processor that was left behind for him. And the word processor has the ability to manifest anything that this main character father types into reality. So if he types the painting is gone in the room that he's in, the painting will disappear and stuff like that. And then he starts using that to shape his life into what he wants it to be. I like this concept. It's an interesting concept, but it's a very average episode. It's a decent one. It's fine enough, good enough. But again, it's very mundane, very to the point, very basic. That's the main thing about it. It's not boring. It's not bad, but it's just basic. It's missing that extra pizzazz that can make it pretty good, if not great. But the concept is there, and it's just sort of your measuring stick. It's like a measuring stick Tales from the Darkside episode. So yeah, that's Word Processor of the Gods. Number 14 is Slippage. Slippage feels like another Twilight Zone episode. It's about this college kid or college guy who's getting ready, or I don't know if he's a college guy, but I think he might be working, and he draws like blueprints to stuff at a workplace. He's got a coworker who's sort of like been his best friend for a while, but he sort of has a little rivalry with him because that guy's always been successful getting opportunities. Meanwhile, the main character doesn't get it. And then what happens is that as the story progresses, people start forgetting who he is. It seems like his identity is slipping away from him, and people, don't invite him to high school reunions. His mother doesn't recognize him. He starts slowly going into madness. His wife and the friend try helping him out and trying to figure things out, but eventually the story continues to go on until he slowly starts to disappear as a whole. And then the ending to the story gives a new opportunity to another character in a better life. This one was, again, decent. It's fine. I like the concept of your people forgetting who you are, you slipping away, the identity going away. But the big problem is there's no hints as to what causes it in the episode. It's a complete mystery, a complete anomaly. There's no explanations or understanding as to why it happens. And that's why you get basically left in the dirt. You don't really know why this stuff is going on. And although it has some good aspects to it, it has some good emotional drama stuff with the main character, like dealing with his mother not recognizing him. You can feel the pain in his heart, and I thought that was pretty good. But the rest of it just sort of felt lazy. It felt like they didn't want to tie certain ends. They could have used some concepts like wormhole or vacuums or time dimension things to add some more explanation as to what's going on. But yeah, it's okay. And then the ending was sort of just like a giant cuck. It's like the universe was cucking this guy and gave the opportunity to a person who did not need it. Decent, fine enough episode. I give Slippage a 7 out of 10. The next one is Madness Room. I also give this one a 7 out of 10. Madness Room is another decent, fine one. It's about this older guy who's rich, and he's got this young, beautiful, partner, fiance or wife, and he invites this guy over. I forgot if the guy was like a doctor or something. He invites him over to this house, and then as they're, doing some like seance, or they're playing some game with the Ouija board, the woman wants to play with the Ouija board because she thinks it'll be fun, and then the older partner of hers basically says, yeah, go ahead. He's like a sugar daddy. She's with him obviously for the money, and they end up playing this game, and then she ends up, discovering the secret as some entity is communicating to them on this Ouija board that there's this hidden map, this hidden room in this house that potentially could hold some sort of valuables or treasure. But it turns out that this house belonged to a very, wrathful or revengeful spirit of a woman who, drowned or killed her kids and then threw herself and drowned in a well. So I guess she went into madness in this house, and this room may or may not be the key to that. And I don't know, I forgot if it held some valuables or whatever, but they try to go find it because it's a stormy night. They have nothing to do. And then as they go into it, it's a very sort of just mundane, creeping episode. It is creepy, but the ending is very predictable as shit. And then there is a decent twist, but even that was predictable. So the main problem with this episode is it's extremely predictable. You can smell where the plot is going from a mile away like a bloodhound. And it was an alright concept, but whatever. I wasn't too surprised or shocked by anything. So 7 out of 10. The next one is The Cards. This one I gave a 7 out of 10 as well. This episode's decent. It's about a woman who's a fortune teller. She used tarot cards to read people's fortunes, and one day a woman comes in and actually replaces her deck of cards with another pair of tarot cards before leaving after her fortune is read. And then the main character, who's the fortune teller, starts reading out fortunes to people and the swordsman tarot card keeps haunting people and causing people to die. Everybody she reads fortunes of ends up getting into tragic accidents. And as the story progresses, she may or may not find out why that's happening. She tries to find a way to solve it. She may or may not find out that the woman who traded her cards also has a hand in fortune telling. And the ending was pretty dark. Again, this episode to me was a little predictable. I kind of expected it. I thought the plot got a little bit too repetitive for me to enjoy it fully. I think the concept is pretty good and I like some things in it. I like the ending as well. But again, it becomes repetitive, becomes predictable. It's missing that special element to make it extra good. So it gets a 7 out of 10. Number 11 on here is the anniversary dinner, which I gave a 7.2 out of 10. This one gets the, where is it? Axe body spray award. This is like the most people love this episode. They rate it super highly in the season. This episode has a big problem. It is predictable as shit. The twist in this episode could not be more predictable than if you put a giant neon sign explaining what's going to happen at the end of it. You can literally see what's going to happen by like the first 5-6 minutes of the episode. And after that, it's just straight up, you expect it. It's about this hiker group who meets up with this couple that's in this like old cabin wood house. This couple celebrating their anniversary. They have some relationship problems, but they're very excited about their anniversary. And the couple, this hiker couple comes in, the partner, the guy scares them off. And then eventually the girl comes back because they offer her a place at the house in case she needs it. She comes back. You get some hint that she had a problem with the hiker guy. She comes in, spends time with them. She enjoys them, kind of treats them like her parents or grandparents. And then eventually they invite her for this big anniversary dinner they're going to have. And they show her around the house and show her around this big hot tub that they have. And they, you know, the big cooking utensils that they have. And the ending involves some secret that the couple is hiding about their past. So that's the anniversary dinner. Again, very, very predictable. And I give this one a 7.2 out of 10. It's above average. I like the dark twist. I like some of the creepy, eerie stuff in it. I like the premise, but it's so damn predictable. You would expect it as your typical short story, not as like a 22-minute long episode. So yeah, give it a 7.2 out of 10. That's number 11. Number 10 is The Odds. The Odds I gave a 7.2 out of 10 as well. The Odds is about this, I guess, gambling dude. It's like this, like, he sounds like a mafia member. He sounds like he's a dude that works with the mafia, and he does a lot of gambling at this bar. He's got a little apprentice with him. And one day, this guy in a white suit and white hat, very tall, sort of just magically appears in this bar and then starts doing bets with him. And the main character, because he's sort of like this mafia don boss, he's like, "Hey, kid, I never turn down a bet. I always take a bet." So he always keeps taking bets with this guy in the white suit, and he ends up losing all of them. This guy seems to some way predict the future, and he's very confident. And then eventually he keeps raising the odds until the final bet that this guy in a white suit pits against him is that I'll bet on your life. If you die within the next like couple hours or so, I'm going to get all your money. But if you don't die, you can get all of my money. So all the money that he won, which is like hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. So he ends up taking that bet, and the main character does something that potentially thwarts the initial plan. There's a reveal about who this man in the white suit may be, whether or not the main character knows him. And then eventually the ending of the episode is... it's a nice twist. After you get the twist, though, you realize what's going to happen, and it does happen. But I thought it was a decent, and I thought it was a pretty good package of an episode, even though it is predictable at certain points. I like the concept. I like the acting in this episode. I like the idea of it. I like the betting aspect. I'm a big fan of gambling type of stories. Don't ask me why. Don't check my bank records. And yeah, even though it was sort of predictable by the end, past the twist, I think that it's still a pretty good package. So that one gets a 7.2 out of 10. The next one is The New Man. This one I rate higher. I give it a 7.3 out of 10. This concept is messy, so I didn't rate it higher, but I still think it's a pretty good concept. It's about this salesman guy who works at this office place, and he gave up drinking because it caused a lot of problems with his family. And then one day after he's about to celebrate this big sales deal that he did, this kid all of a sudden runs up into the office and says, "Hey, Dad, I'm your son. Take me home." And the guy's like, "I don't know who the fuck you are. You're not my kid. You're not my son." So he decides to leave him there, but then eventually the kid won't leave him alone, so he takes him home. But then he takes him to the police department just to find his parents. And when he gets back to his wife and his actual son, they freak out. They're like, "Why'd you drop, whatever his name was, Jerry or whatever, off at the police department? That's your own kid. You can't do that shit." And he's like, "Well, he's not my kid. Stop pulling my leg." And the story progresses and he thinks he's going crazy. They think that he's been drinking again and that, why don't you recognize your own son? Well, how could you not know this? You knew what drinking did to our lives. Why would you bring it back? We're in a good place now. He keeps getting more and more angry, upset. And the main character does a fantastic job acting in this one. He does a good job breaking down emotionally. And then the ending of the episode happens where the guy may or may not lose everything that he loves. And then you find out that this kid maybe more than meets the eye. And the way I interpreted that was that this entity may be a demon that preys upon people. And that idea of mine of it being a demon that preys upon people by the ending, I thought was pretty unique. And again, there's plot holes. Why is the office building the only one targeted? Why is it only targeting salespeople? Some missing stuff in there. So I didn't give it a great score, but I think it's a pretty bordering a pretty good episode. So I give it a 7.3 out of 10. Next one is Snip Snip, 7.3 out of 10 as well. This is number 8 on my list. Snip Snip is about this guy who wants to win the lottery. He's a teacher, a professor, but he hates his job now. He thinks the kids are ungrateful. So he decides he wants to win the lottery, and he uses satanic magic. He uses the dark arts to basically win this lottery ticket. He has a giant pentagram. He has this chalice that he summons things from, and he gets his lucky number, which is like a repeating 6 number that he's going to win the lottery with. And then he starts boasting about it. He gets happy. He expects he's going to win. And then all of a sudden the winning number is all the repeating 6s, 7. And then he's shocked. He's like, how could this, satanic magic not work? I should have won. And then he finds out that the actual winner was a hairdresser who lives in the same apartment building as him, coincidentally. And when he goes into her house, he tries threatening her. He tries taking away her opportunity. And he finds out something about this hairdresser that may or may not be more than he can chew off. And then it becomes into a little bit of a situation. And the ending is pretty dark. I give this one a 7.3 out of 10. It's a pretty good episode. I like the concept of it in certain regards. I like the idea of, you think that you are on top and then next thing you know, you bite off more than you can chew. I like the idea, I usually end up liking, underworld satanic horror when it's well done. This is more of a basic concept. It's sort of lazy in certain regards, but I like the acting on the hairdresser. I like some of the magic battle stuff that you get here. It's not the greatest, but I like some of the magic stuff. And the ending, again, is pretty sinister. So I get a 7.3. Next one is number 7. This is Bigelow's Last Smoke. I give it a 7.4 out of 10. Another pretty good episode. Bigelow's Last Smoke is about this guy who has a smoking addiction, and it turns out that he signed up for some program, and when he signed up for this program, he gets shut inside of this makeshift apartment that he can't escape, and he's tempted with cigarettes, and every time he lights up a cigarette in this place, some alarm system will start going off and go, "Please put out the cigarette. Put out the cigarette now," and it'll start putting flashing strobe lights, get him like epilepsy and start blasting loud noises. So it overloads his senses. He freaks out and he puts out the cigarette and everything goes back to normal. And the only way he can leave this makeshift apartment is he has to give up smoking as a whole. This one is a big ripoff of Stephen King's Quitters, Inc. from his Night Shift collection. Quitters, Inc. is way better than this one. Quitters, Inc. is a great, fantastic story. Really well done. It's more creepy. It's more sinister. This one is like a sort of watered down bootleg version. I think they maybe tried adapting it, but I know that Quitters, Inc. got adapted into another movie, so maybe they had problems. They adapted a Stephen King story in this season, so maybe they had some ownership issues. So maybe that's what it was. But Bigelow's Last Smoke is a ripoff, so I'm not going to give it too much of a high score. But there are some differences to it from Quitters, Inc. Again, it's a more watered down, tame version. It's not as sinister as that one is, which makes it better. But at least this is somewhat different, even though the concept is a ripoff. So I would give it a 7.4 out of 10. Pretty good episode. I like the main character as the actor. I like the flashing lights, the strobe lights, this dystopian place and situation he's put in. And it does deal, obviously, with addiction themes, which is sometimes end up being very good. So pretty good episode. Number 6 on my list is Levitation. I give this one a flat out good. It's 7.5 out of 10. Levitation, I believe, is about a kid and his friend who go to this like fair or carnival kind of place, and they want to go see this big magician that the main character is a big fan of. And when he goes there, because he's a big fan of magic, he sees this magician performing excuse me, all these different tricks, and he starts calling them off amongst the crowd, and then the magician starts getting mad and heated and eventually ends his show. And then the main character goes to confront the magician and wants to see the one act that he could not ever pinpoint and find out what the magic behind it was, which is his floating levitation act. And the magician may or may not teach him how to do it, give him an opportunity to be a test in it, and something happens at the end that is quite sinister. So Levitation is a pretty good segment. I like the carnival / fair setting. I like the magic aspect to it. And I did think that the ending to the episode is a nice payoff, and it does wrap up the story pretty well. And I didn't feel like the episode was really slow at any point, so I give this one a 7.5 out of 10. Now here's my top 5. Number 5 is Answer Me, which gets a 7.5 out of 10. A flat out good episode. Answer Me is about this actress woman who wants to get this big movie role. She lives in this apartment building, and as she's trying to book some roles, she ends up getting these phone calls that happen in the room next to her that nobody picks up. These phone calls go off at all hours of the night, even during the day, and every time she tries to go confront them or have somebody hear them, the phone call magically turns off. And she tries to find out what happened and why they're not answering, what's going on. She's losing sleep. She's becoming more crazy. And then as she does some research, she finds out that maybe not, somebody had possibly committed suicide in that room. And there may be some malevolent things inside of there. And when she goes to investigate, it's creepy, it's ominous, people, and the ending is quite sinister. This is a flat out good one. I am a fan of Answer Me. I thought it was really creepy. I like the phone call aspect. I like the suicide ghost aspect. I like how eerie it is when she enters the apartment, and I like the ending, which is quite fun and sinister at the same time. My main gripe, though, is the main actress is annoying as shit. She's obnoxious, always complaining, and I can't stand her, so it makes it hard to watch. But even though that's what she's meant to be, so I'm not going to be too hard, and I still like the story, so 7.5 out of 10. Number 4 on my list is I'll Give You a Million. This one gets a 7.6 out of 10. I'll Give You a Million is about these two rich millionaire guys who are sort of like these business tycoons, and they always hang out a lot. They play pool, they drink together, and one day one of the business tycoon guys, who looks like the damn Monopoly man, funny enough, gives them this contract saying that if you sell your soul to me for $1 million, I would appreciate it. I can give you $1 million for your soul. And the guy's like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is crazy. You must have really gone crazy. He's like, what, you're all of a sudden religious now? You believe that you have a soul? He's like, no, I don't. I don't have any consciousness or guilt. And he decides, you know what, I'll take up the contract. Because basically it's just saying that if you give your soul, then it's fine. But if you die within a certain time, he's going to get that $1 million back in addition to like another $1 million. So I think that's like some contract like that. It's a contract to exchange millions of dollars for each other. So what ends up happening is that eventually that other guy does end up dying, and this guy does not get the soul contract. He does not end up getting $1 million like he wanted to. So he gets very mad, but then he gets visited by some things that night. He gets visited by somebody who may or may not reveal that there is in fact a soul, and there is in fact the afterlife, and the makeup and practical effects you see on this figure are horrifying. And then the ending to the episode is some figure coming in and going like, hey, there's only one entity that allows people to sell their souls to them, and it's me. And that figure comes in and handles business. And the ending is comical, but it's also creepy, and that's I'll Give You a Million. Give You a Million, I gave a 7.6 out of 10. This is a flat out good episode. I enjoy it. I like it. Like the concept, like the actors. I like the premise. Good makeup and practical effects on a ghost figure, and I like the being that comes at the end of the episode. So that's a flat out good episode. I'll Give You a Million. That one needs more love. That's a sleeper one. Next one is Trick or Treat. I believe this one is written by George Romero. Trick or Treat is about this old guy in this town who collects a lot of debts from people. And as he collects a lot of debts from people, he always keeps track, takes their money. And then on Halloween night, he does this game at his house where he dresses up his house as like a haunted house, puts all these scary contraptions, and then he allows kids to go there, the kids of these parents who have these outstanding debts, and then allows them to potentially find all these debts. And if they find it, they'll be cured. They don't have to pay any of it. But of course, he makes his house so scary that no kid is ever willing to get through the house and actually find it. He puts it up in the attic, and he puts like these moving bear compartments. He has like this symphony of noises and speakers. He has all these different ghosts and stuff. So all of the kids get scared the shit out of it, and they never manage to find it, even though their parents really want them to find it so they can be relieved of debt. And then on this night of Halloween, he gets visited by some things outside of this world, and they start taking over the house. And there's a fucked up ending for this old guy, but there's something good that happens for the town. This is a flat out good story. This is a good one. I enjoy the premise to this, a really unique Halloween story premise, and I thoroughly enjoyed this one. So this is a good episode. Close to a really good. This is a good episode. I enjoy it. So that's Trick or Treat. 7.8 out of 10. Standout. Number 2 on my list is Inside the Closet. Inside the Closet, I'll talk about more in detail in a separate video. This one is a very good episode, 8.5 out of 10. It's about this college girl who needs a place to stay. She finds this professor guy who has a room to rent in his house. She decides to stay there, and there's this one small little closet in there. It looks like 3 foot, 4 foot tall closet, and there's no door able to open it. The guy says that his daughter or somebody had a key, and when she died of an illness, the key was never found or whatever, and never able to find it. So that closet door is locked. But then at night, she hears noises behind there. She thinks something may be living in there. And then the closet door opens on some nights. And there's something living in that closet. And it is horrific. It is scary as shit. The monster in this episode is creepy as hell. And the ending to the episode, it makes no real sense, but it's very creepy, very fucked up, and very disturbing. And I like that a lot. So I give this one an 8.5 out of 10. Very good episode. And finally, the best episode in Tales from the Darkside Season 1, the one that I think is flat out great and fantastic, is A Case of the Stubborns. Case of the Stubborns is about a son and his mother, who lives in this sort of like country town. They live in the South, and they live in this town that's a very religious family. And his grandpa dies, the son's grandpa dies, the mother's father dies. And then one day the grandpa comes down and he's alive all of a sudden. And they're like, wait, no, you died last night because of cardiac arrest. How are you here? And then the mother eventually finds out that this, the grandpa may have came back because he's extremely stubborn. He doesn't want to accept the fact that he died. So now he continues on living. But as the story progresses, he's a dead body. So his corpse starts rotting. They bring in the doctor. They bring in the priest, and none of them are able to figure out what to do. The family feels like, excuse me, they're put into a very bad situation, and they have to figure out a way to deal with it. So the son is now in charge. He has to take lead, and because the father died, he has to be now the father figure, the big figure to solve it. And he goes potentially to a gypsy to try to find a way to solve it. And the ending is extremely clever, extremely gross, extremely fucked up, but heartfelt and bittersweet. This episode is a fantastic package of a story. It's a great story. I love the emotion in this one. I love the acting in this one. Very heartfelt characters. The practical effects on the grandpa are great. It's fucked up, but it's comedy. It's like a nice horror comedy. I laughed a lot of times during this episode. It's very charming, very funny, very great. And the ending is so damn clever. And I love the gross out reveal. And again, it's bittersweet. It's dark, it's disturbing, it's weird, but it ends on a nice note, and it makes you feel good. And I think that I'm going to talk about this one more in detail in a separate video. But yeah, this is my great episode of Tales from the Darkside Season 1. And that's my ranking of all the episodes. Hope you guys enjoyed. This one is not an hour and 20 minutes. It ended up being 40 plus minutes. But again, these are 24 episode fucking seasons. It's going to take me a while to talk about them, even if I try to speed through. But hopefully this is more timely. This is now going to be my official ranking going forward. And I hope you guys enjoyed. If you liked it, hit that subscribe button down below. Hit that like button. We're almost at 300 subscribers. We're like 5 or 4 away. If we can hit that right now, that would be amazing. I'll have something special planned. And stay tuned for more content to come. I have more content dropping during the summer. And yeah, let me know your thoughts about Tales from the Darkside Season 1, about the show as a whole, and some of your favorite episodes. That's all I have for today. Deuces.